Um, well, we met like spontaneously several different times in several different spaces. We met through Deanna Jean's Success Tribe 3G Network. And then I think we had our own little coffee chat.
Mhm.
So I'm excited to get to talk to you. I'm Jennifer, and we are just going to talk about money and wealth building and, some of the challenges and stigma and mindset hurdles that we can face as women, as excluded identity, historically excluded identities, and as folks who are trying to transform the narrative around what that looks like for us. So, welcome, Kelly. I'm so excited to be talking with you today.
Yes, I'm excited to talk to you. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. It's the joys of social media, right? I think I actually meet more people now engaging on social media since COVID than going out and about anymore. So awesome opportunity to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. And I have so much more energy when it's virtual because it cuts out all the like driving and parking and, just all the other stuff. So I'm enjoying building my virtual network and community.
Yeah.
So tell me about, I know one of the big questions is what does a CFO do? I've heard a lot of folks talk about or have questions about like, is that the same as a CPA? Are
Mhm.
they a bookkeeper? Do they do accounting? And then like fractional CFO, what does that mean? So tell us a little bit about the work that you do.
Yeah, no, that's a loaded question that I do get often. So we may have to break it up into pieces, but no. So, me in a nutshell, what my firm does is we offer fractional CFO services to CEO entrepreneurs. And what that is basically we give them strategy. So, I've built this position of 5xing my clients' revenue in 5 months, creating sustainable profitability strategies and getting them out of burnout phase in their business. So that's in a nutshell what we do at Commerce with Kelly. Now, to your latter part of the differences of them all, I typically like to start at a bookkeeper, right? Because that's mostly what people have heard of in the entrepreneurial space. And a bookkeeper is a very, very important person on your team that you should get once you realize, okay, this is a business and I'm going to operate
Mm,
it as such. A bookkeeper is one of the first people that you should get on your team. And what a bookkeeper does is more transactional. So they take all of your expenses and your income and they form them into some type of accounting system. And then they produce reports for you. So it could be just a whole financial packet, a P&L, a balance sheet, cash flow statements, things like that. Then
mm,
you ramp it up a notch. Once you get to a certain point in your business, usually I tell people always have a strategy session with a CFO as you're starting out. You're not committed to work with a CFO. If you get someone like me that's honest and a great CFO, I don't price people into my CFO package if they're not ready for it in their business.
mm,
So there's a level of leverage that you can get there in knowing the strategy behind the pricing of a CFO and if you're ready for a CFO. But generally, you're ready when you're at an accelerated pace. Like you're like, I have all of these goals for my business revenue. I'm profitable, but I'm not sure what's happening with my numbers. Like I have a
mm.
bookkeeper. They're giving me the reports, but I just drag and drop them into a folder every month and I'm not even looking at them. That's
Yeah.
when you need a CFO, because then we take those reports and you don't really have to look at them because we look at them and peel back the onion and we do strategy and tell you the story behind those numbers and help you
Mm,
understand what they're saying and then build a sustainable profitability margin for you for long term in your business. Now, the CPA component, it's kind of CPAs have a broad scope of business they can do. So some CPAs do bookkeeping and CFO strategy as well. But what makes a CPA ultimately different is they can do business valuations and formal audits of business.
mm.
And that's something that you can only do with a CPA. So for clients that come to me, I can do all things accounting. I came from the CC space of a $2 billion law firm overseeing that much revenue. I can definitely do all aspects of
Yeah.
accounting. But if you came to me and we were strategizing and then your business got to a point where you're like, okay, this has been awesome. I've created a great legacy. I'm ready to sell my business. Then we partner over with the CPA to get a business
Mhm.
valuation done. So that's
Mm.
kind of the difference between all three spaces.
Thank you. That's so amazing and super helpful. A lot of the entrepreneurs, well, I primarily work with neurodivergent entrepreneurs, and I know that that generally is one of the top things that is like scary and "Ugh, numbers, I don't know what to do with them." One of those I think is, some of us, myself included, who are neurodivergent have certain like number processing issues. I have dyscalculia, and that affects like how I understand numbers and how they go together, and the concept of like value and things like that. So things like something percent APR interest, like that's just an abstract notion that my brain doesn't really capture as a value. So um, that can be one of the challenges, I think, for neurodivergent entrepreneurs and maybe other entrepreneurs who don't always feel like they have a strength in the numbers department. I always joke around like, give me letters and words any day of the week and I will be good. So it's really helpful to know what resources are out there for entrepreneurs to be able to outsource
Right.
these things because,
Mhm.
I think it's one of those things as I talk to entrepreneurs, they're like, it's so big and scary. I don't want the IRS to throw me in jail, but I don't know what to do with it. I can't keep up with it. I just want somebody else to take this off my plate. So it,
Exactly. Yeah, no, I was gonna say the neurodivergent community needs to know that this support is here, especially because the
Mhm.
CFO puts it all in layman's terms. I don't get into your space and start talking a whole bunch of accounting jargon because you'd be like, "What the heck? I don't know what the hell you're talking about," right? And nor do I want to make it a math equation either. So
Mhm.
that's my joy is talking to people in layman's terms, getting to know what they do. A large passion, if not the number one thing, which typically shocks people when they do discoveries with me, is I don't even go into the numbers until towards the middle or end. My passion is knowing what are your goals in your business, not financially. I want to know why. Why did you start your business? What was
Mhm.
the goal for this business? Your personal goals, your vision for the business, all of that, like now, before you started, and what's your 5-year goal. The reason I'm passionate and I want to know that is because I need to have an invested interest in your business and in
Mhm.
you. Because as I'm diving down deep in these numbers, I'm strategizing not just the numbers themselves, but what do they mean for what you've shared with me for your goals and visions for your business. So
Mhm.
all of that goes into the equation. So just so you know, there doesn't have to be the anxiety behind, oh, my books are a mess, or I don't
Mhm.
understand the numbers, or I'm just all over the place. It doesn't matter to me. I'm here to be that support for you to just make
Mhm.
it clear and take all of that away. And people need to understand that. And we do it for a very reasonable flat fee structure.
Yeah.
The other fear that people has. Oh my God, how much is this going to cost me? And now this whole fractional CFO, that sounds expensive. I don't know if I could barely afford a bookkeeper. How am I going to afford that space? But you don't know unless you ask. People are usually
Mhm.
pleasantly surprised at what we do at what rates, and we can do it if you love your current bookkeeper and you're married to that person and they're doing an incredible job. We can offer a rate lower to do partner with them and take the reports and still do strategy behind them. Or we can take it all in house and make it more streamlined and easier for you.
Mhm.
So there are options, but like you said, it doesn't have to be the scary beast. And that's what I want people to know. Because
Yeah.
the IRS is a real thing. And I want you to know, if they happen to come audit you, that you can say, hey, Kelly, the IRS sent me this notice and I need my last 3 years P&Ls. And literally in 5 minutes, I can send them to you. And it's that simple.
Wow, that sounds like such an amazing resource to have, like just like someone in your corner financially who
Yep.
is there. And one of the other things that I think about that I love when you were talking about kind of the way that you find the story and make meaning out of the numbers into, weaving that into what the vision and the mission of the business is. That's so powerful to me. I think also because so many folks that I talk to who are neurodivergent, um, and maybe realize later in life, like myself, there's a lot of stigma and judgment around neurodivergent people and money. There's a lot of stereotypes of like, oh, like people with ADHD are bad with money. They just impulsively spend everywhere and they don't know anything. And it wears us down hearing these messages reported to us. And so I think there is this effect of like, then we take that on and live that out because that's the expectation of us. So then we realize that. And so part of what my mission is to shift that narrative, right? But also provide some hope for, okay, maybe as a natural left to our own devices, maybe it is not a strength to manage our money, but one, we can learn how
Yep.
to do things differently. And there are support systems that we can, delegate to and hire, um, to take that burden off of off
Mhm.
of us
Mhm.
and kind of do that labor. And I love what you said about like this is a shame-free and judgment-free space, which I think is the other piece. So many folks that I talk to have just compounded money trauma,
Mhm.
um, for various reasons, but then there's an immense amount of shame around that. And so historically, when I've talked to folks about their experiences with going to a financial advisor or a money advisor person, usually it's been a parent or an elder white man that has very specific ideas about money and how they talk to people. And so for folks who have experienced like being shamed and condescended on by like white patriarchal ideas of money management and
Mhm.
responsibility and stewardship, it makes it really hard for people to want to like be vulnerable to like, here's all my money
Yeah.
stuff.
No doubt. It definitely does. And that's why I am consistently, I actually said I do a lot of text content posting, but I said I was going to start doing more audios and talking because I feel like I can project it more of making people understand the level of comfort that they can have coming to someone that they trust in that space. Because I have been there. My history, yes, I've managed the $2 billion, but I didn't come from that. I have
Mhm.
a journey of screwing up my own money. And I knew I wanted to be an accountant since I was 16 years old. That didn't mean I knew
Mm.
how to manage my money from 16 years old. I just knew I knew what I wanted to be. And it actually transpired into something that I loved. And I actually really did want to be this, right? But in my early 20s, I blew a credit card out of the water in a matter of 2 hours at the mall. That little $500 credit card turned into $1,500 of me paying it back over years. And then having to rebuild my credit and my life through
Mhm.
the financial journeys that I even had to learn because I too didn't learn finances growing up in my household. And I think a lot of it comes from that too. So not
Mhm.
only are you getting the advice from the communities that you mentioned that don't look like us, but
Mhm.
you already have this level of scarcity
Mhm.
and shame behind how bad you may have screwed it up because you feel like you should have known better. When how would you
Mhm.
have known better if you were never taught better, right? That's the
Right.
only part. Isn't it weird that I can't right off the top of my head think of any other area that we just think we should be expected to know it, right? Like,
Yeah.
why is that? It's like a foreign language, literally. Like you're not
Mhm.
expected to know anything outside of English when you're born in the United States, right? And you're not even really expected to know that depending on where your parents came from and what your
Mhm.
background is, right? So why is it that money we're just so shamed? And I think it is because of how people have made us feel growing up and
Yeah.
have talked to us. So it's created this level of tension and scarcity and fear behind bringing it up. And it doesn't have to be that way. So we are trying to, in many aspects, as we are as women and as a culture, reverse a lot of the things that have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think about this a lot. When I was working as a complex trauma therapist, one of my areas of specialty was working with folks dealing with religious trauma. And this piece came up so often around how in religious power and control dynamics, money was used to control.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that is a one of the largest sources, certainly not the only, but one of the largest sources of shame around, like, the way that people engage with money and where the thoughts and relationship to money, like, can get distorted. And I have been I have been working on that in my own life too, to kind of deconstruct, especially for folks who were, like, born into that teaching, right? And that was or getting that teaching right alongside with learning language and everything else.
Yeah.
But it's so true that, I think I was just thinking about, as you were talking, I'm like, okay, I remember learning about how to count money in school,
Hmm.
but beyond that,
No.
I don't remember lessons around kind of practical things. Like, the overarching message was like, just don't get in debt, avoid debt at all costs,
Right.
debt is the worst, debt is a moral failing, like, just don't do it, right? Those are the messaging. And now, like, I'm in my 40s and there are certain things that I'm learning, like, oh, there are ways to leverage debt wisely in order to get to where you want to go, that is not overwhelming, that's not that's good for for business and growth and whatever it is that folks want to do. um do you have do you have anything, um uh, I don't know, anything to share in that department around, like, I'm not asking for financial advice,
Mhm.
but just kind of the conversation around, um like, debt is not inherently bad and shameful.
Exactly. No, and I think a lot of that too is people, we know usually in the US, one of the ways that you need to qualify or buy large things like a home is having good credit, right? And the only way you can have good credit is if you build credit. And many of times people don't build credit in the best ways because it goes back to what we just talked about. You're not
Mhm.
really taught how to do that. So the whole thing behind the credit aspect is learning how to manage debt and make it work for you and not against you, right?
Mhm.
So since we have to, I would love to say live your life. You don't ever have to worry about getting credit cards. You don't have to worry, but it's unfortunately the way the banking system is set up. You kind of got to go and play the game, right?
Yeah.
So you definitely want to, I would say, if we're starting out with a clean slate, start out with something that's called a secured credit card, which gives you options to secure the credit card with a deposit of maybe 250, 500 bucks. Start there because that's going
Mhm.
to give you that leverage of not getting the bad shift on your credit if something hits the road really tough for you and you can't pay it, because you have that security blanket behind it,
Yeah.
right? And so build from that and start there. And then the next step I would say is leverage a card with rewards. So a more open credit card that's a
Mm,
full on credit card. So in my business and personal life, what I do now is both of my personal and business credit card. I have a couple, but I have one main card on each side that I use. And
mhm.
I use those for anything that will allow me to swipe it on because it's giving me back rewards on it, right?
Yeah,
But the idea is I'm also paying it off every month.
yeah,
So I'm not paying anything to use the card. So the rewards are actually rewarding. Like
yeah,
use the rewards card and then carry a balance because it's not rewarding you at that point.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so, and you'd be surprised at how much you can accumulate. Like last year alone, when I was running my reports, I actually had almost $10,000 in credit card rewards.
Wow,
How
that's incredible.
is that, right?
Yeah,
Like, that's pretty dope. And literally, it's because I charge no matter how, even the
yeah,
larger the purchase, the better to put on the card, right? As long as you know, which again goes back to having a CFO in your corner, that you've budgeted for this and you've planned for it.
mhm,
I would tell you in a heartbeat, if you have this program that you were planning on and we budgeted for you to make a $20,000 investment in a membership or a conference or a sponsorship, put it on the credit card
yeah,
because that's going to reap the rewards and you can use those. I mean, it's free money. Why not?
yeah,
But if you're in a repair state, don't be shameful about it. It's okay. There are literally, if we look at studies, there are millions of people that have gotten
mhm,
themselves into debt crunches and don't even know how to do it and get out without support. And as you mentioned, Jennifer, there are people here to support you. And
mhm,
don't be shamed. And if you come across someone that makes you feel shamed, don't give up. Don't give up, move on to the next person because there's a lot of great people. I know a lot of good people in my circle that focus primarily on personal financial management. You can find someone out there that you can trust that's going to get you out. But if you're just like, let me figure this out and I'm on the cusp of trying on my own, the first steps to clean up that I would say is write it all down on a spreadsheet. On my
mm,
website, I have a debt tracker that people can download, and it literally does that. You put down the name of the car, the APR, when it's due, your minimum payment, the balance, and you set up a system to pay it down. I normally tell people start out with the one with the highest interest rate because that's the one that's
mm,
charging you more to keep the
yeah,
balance going. But some people, like you said, the numbers scare them. So you could have a card that you only have maybe 500 bucks on at a 23% interest rate, and another that has a $10,000 balance on, but the interest rate 6%. But that 10,000
mm,
is driving you bonkers because it's $10,000. Pay that one. It really is whichever way you want to go. I like to make people feel comfortable and flexible in it, which is
yeah,
why that piece is so, so important for people that are trying to manage debt.
yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds really empowering, and I think that that is a key place for people to be operating from when we're talking about money.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to you were talking about uh, like the strategy work that you do as a fractional CFO, and you were saying like this is my joy, this is what I love doing. I want to explore that more because I love talking to people about like just what makes their brain and soul happy to do. So tell me a little bit about like what are some of the most exciting aspects of your job that you enjoy doing.
It's funny because I think people will be surprised it's not even the numbers piece. It is actually getting to know the entrepreneurs and their businesses and seeing the numbers components come together and the plans that we've made for them all come to fruition. And when I hop on their monthly strategy sessions, and just yesterday, I had a monthly strategy session with a client that's been with me almost since the beginning. She's been about 2.5 years. And she got on and she was like, I'm not sure I already know I didn't do anything you told me to do last month. And I was like, it's okay because I have it all here. We're going to talk about it again. But I have some more exciting news that I want to start with because I don't think you're ready. And she was like, what? I said, you already made more money this year than you did last year. And I don't think you realize that. And she was like, what? And it's that piece right there.
Yes.
Right? Because they're just so passionate. Entrepreneurs are just so passionate about what they do. And when they're in their calling and in their zone, they're just in it. So I'm honored when I get the joy of actually peeling back the numbers and I can get on a meeting with them of something they already didn't want to take the time to do before meeting me, right? Who wants to sit down and talk to anybody about bookkeeping and numbers? But now they're like, oh my God, I never know. It's like the box of surprises when I hop on with
Yes.
Kelly and the mom. So that's the most gratifying thing. And when I started my firm 3 years ago, I actually thought I would work with more corporate. My goal was to work with corporate clients.
Mhm.
And I still do work with corporate clients, and I have clients in that space, and that's more my business advisory when I go into their accounting departments and help them to streamline productivity and the same thing, how to turn over a better return with
Mm.
streamlining their services. I still do a lot in that space. But then when I just switched and a couple entrepreneurs popped on my site for discovery, I realized this is a different space
Mm.
because entrepreneurs are vested. They're completely all in. And it's usually
Yeah.
some personal stuff and personal, even money that's on the line for this business
Mhm.
to succeed. So the level of investment they have, not even monetarily, I'm talking spiritually,
Mm.
emotionally, physically in their business is usually far heavier than the corporate space because the corporate space has figured it out typically, right? They're already
Mm.
making money. They don't really need to, they need to, but they don't have the interest in sitting down going over financials every month. They just don't have it. They're just like, hey, we're making money. We're doing great. Help us streamline a little bit so we can make more for less or figure all of
Mhm.
that. Entrepreneurs are just hungry. They're in a hungry state. And that's literally what gives me joy and why I enjoy working with entrepreneurs in that space because they're hungry in the area. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. I look forward to someday getting a call from my CFO that I made more money than I thought that I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's definitely goals. I
Yeah.
also want to circle back to you said that you knew at 16 what you wanted to do. You wanted to be an accountant.
Mhm.
Will will you tell me a little bit about that? Like how did that transpire?
You know, it's crazy is I didn't even know that I knew at 16 and I didn't remember until a few months ago. A friend of mine sent me this picture, which I posted on my social media channels. I'm not sure if you saw it, but it's literally like a picture of me, and it looks like a graduation picture, but I was in a cotillion at 16. So it was a cotillion picture. And there was a bio underneath. And among all the other accolades at 16 that I had accomplished, it at the bottom says, and she's poised and wants to be an accountant when she grows up. And I was like, wow, I didn't remember that part of the bio, but I thought it was pretty awesome because oftentimes, and even I tell my kids that you're not going to know what you want to go. Just, figure it out. Even if college is not your thing, dabble in some trades and just see where you land because you're not going to know until you get in your 20s what you really want to do with your life,
Mhm.
right? Maybe 30s for some people. But I can't honestly say it was nothing. I am a Christian and I do believe in God. And I'm just like, it's nothing but God that gave me that clarity and that clear discernment of what I want it to be. Because quite frankly, I was not a mathematician. I did not love math. I was always in accelerated math courses though. It was interesting because I had taken trigonometry in 10th grade. So I was
Whew.
pretty accelerated. Yeah. I was pretty accelerated in math and I knew I was good at it, but I really didn't like math. But I think what I liked, and this is the piece I do still like about accounting, is I'm a very black or white person. Like
Mm.
either it's right or it's wrong type of person. And I realized that's not realistic, right? In many areas of our life.
Yeah,
It's not that
sadly.
simple. But in accounting, it is. It's
Yeah.
always either right or wrong. The numbers are either right or wrong. So I think even at 16, I was able to clearly say, all right, I know something about accounting, is there's no ambiguity here. And
Yeah.
it remains consistent that way. And that's what I do like about, if we're talking about just the numbers piece of it, is the numbers are the numbers. When I give you the numbers, you can't beat me up for the numbers. I'm not going to let you beat yourself up for the numbers. We just got to make the numbers make sense in a different way or however we get there. But the numbers
Mhm.
are the numbers.
That's so powerful, and thank you for sharing. I was talking to somebody else the other day, and they're like, "Actually, like, when I'm doing, like, my bookkeeping, that's kind of meditative for me," and I was like, "Oh, please explain." And they said something very similar. They're like, "2 plus 2 is always going to equal 4. There's not ever a time where it's gonna be interpreted differently." And
Mhm.
there's something that's so, like, when there's chaos going on in other areas of life,
Yeah.
numbers are always gonna do what they do, like, in the same way, and I can trust that, and that gives me a sense of, like, peace, and I can know what to expect, and it's not gonna, like, surprise me or blindside me with some, like, "Suddenly 2 plus 2 is 6. What?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, never. It is. It's and that is the joy about. I know that's what people are like, "Oh God, I hate numbers." That's what I love about them. They always just come together and they equal the same every single time. So,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah.
So, do you have any projects or events or things going on coming up that you would like folks to know about?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking that. So I do currently have 3 openings for CFO clients. So my website is being rebranded, which I'm so super excited about.
Woo!
Yeah, it's an exciting time. So we don't have the link for you to sign up. So if you are on whatever social media platform you're viewing this on, or even on YouTube, you can find me at Commas with Kelly. And as you see in my shirt, it's with a K. On all platforms, and DM me there, and I can get you the link to apply for those CFO positions or
Awesome.
role. Yeah. So how we do that? Let's just talk real quickly about the screening. So you don't just, like I said, I'm not going to allow anyone to just click on a link and pay for CFO services because I want to do an analysis to make sure you're ready for that.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's an application process to see if we're a good fit for you primarily, and if you're a good fit for us, then we're ready. So DM me on any platform to talk more about those slots. I do also have a membership that's also will be available for people who aren't quite ready for CFO. You have a bookkeeper, but you need a CFO in your back pocket. That's what I call it. Then we could talk more about that. That's the main availability I have. I also have a pricing freebie that I'll give you the link to so you can post it with this video so people can get that pricing freebie. And I would
Awesome.
love to host you on. I know we had planned to kind of transition and do some talking more, but we've gotten so far in the numbers today. And I don't want to run long. So I'd love us to come back and I
Yeah.
share your space so people can know more about Jennifer and what you offer and your community and all of the awesome things that you're doing because it's an important work that people need to educate themselves more in that area.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll provide links. Folks know, if, if they're connected on my platforms, Expansive Expressions. But yeah, my whole jam is supporting neurodivergent businesses and helping us to thrive because I mean, I know you know the numbers of like the pretty bleak statistics of of anyone who is not a cishet white male in business, right? It's like, I want to change those statistics. I want us to be successful. I want us to thrive. I want us to build these sustainable businesses that, can either be a catalyst for generational wealth or community wealth, or just transforming life for those of us who have been excluded for too long. I'm done with that. So
Yeah, I agree. And I love your heart for it. And I love your passion. And you're like, I'm done with that. I love it. I just love it. So yeah, we'll definitely schedule a time to pop on again and talk and
absolutely.
take our focus around your brand and what you're doing. Because I mean it's so divine that the two of us are together in this collaboration space because it's so necessary. So thanks again.
I love it. It's a joy every time I talk with you, and I'm excited that we get to share this conversation with folks. I'll make sure that links get in the places that they need to get, or posted up after in the comments so folks have access to that. So thank you so much. Stay tuned. And yeah, you'll probably see us having a conversation again soon.
Thanks for having me.